Hey guys, so welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be covering how to find providers, right? So we're talking about rent to rent, rent to social housing, and how oftentimes beginners that are looking at this strategy actually focus in the wrong way, which is trying to find the properties first. And this strategy just doesn't work that way, right? So it's all about finding the provider first, not the property. Okay, so how do we actually find providers? So let's break down a little bit about what we're actually going to discuss with providers once we have found them, so we understand why it is that we need to speak with the providers first, right? So demand. So when we first get on a call, typically we're going to reach out to these providers and we're going to try and book them in for a Zoom call, right? And we're going to sit down with them and we're basically on a fact finding mission. So what we want to find out is their demand. Like, are they looking to scale? Because really we want to work with providers that want more properties, right? If they're currently just stabilizing or they've got no room for growth, then there's not much point in us working with them, right? Because we want to scale with their business. So we're assessing their demand. So a way you can ask this is, how many properties do you guys currently have? How many services do you have? And what are your goals for the next, 3 to 6 months, 12 months, for example? Or how many new services are you looking to expand by? That gives you a good inclination into how much they want to grow, and then also obviously that will be correlated to the sort of demand in the area, the demand for the service users that they're getting from the local authority. If they're getting lots of demands, lots of referrals, then the chances are that there's plenty of demand there, so then they're going to want to grow. And then what we want to understand is their criteria. So, who is it that they're catering for? So this could mean two things here. I've put spec and criteria. Essentially, criteria could be, in this instance, what type of properties are they looking for? So so you can ask what their existing stock is. So what do they currently have? Do they have like a house share model? Or do they do like a cluster model, which is like self-contained units in one sort of apartment block, if you will? Or are they after like bungalows, detached, semi-detached, this sort of thing? So we're trying to understand their criteria of what it is that they typically, property-wise, use for a service, so that you can consider that the spec as well. Obviously, we want to understand the area that they're looking in. So do they cover a broad range of areas? Are they all in up and down England, or are they very centrally focused in certain areas, or do they have a few different locations dotted around? How many different frameworks are they sort of on? So what areas is it that they're operating in, and also what areas do they have demand in? The next thing is rent. Now this can be a subject that you can obviously broach with them. You can try and understand how much it is they're willing to pay. If they've got a very specific property type, say they'll only go after 3-bed detached bungalows, then you can say, okay, well, how much are you prepared to pay? If we could bring you the perfect property, that it was in the right location, it was the right layout and everything, it was basically good to go. Like, how much would you be looking to pay, or how much could you pay for that? So you can get a rough idea. Now, some providers might turn around and say, oh, we pay 20% over LHA, which is the local housing allowance, right? So, or they might, they could put a price on the exact type of property. So in this area, currently we're paying X thousands of pounds for this type of property. We could look to pay that. Or they might just turn around and say that they're paying market value. I like to gauge on the call and decide whether to discuss rent at the time. What often I'll do is, if they are keen, they've got demand, and we're onboarding this provider and we actually want to work with them, they're looking for something actively, I'll go away and I'll start feeding them a few properties. And when I send properties over, I'll be including the rent, and that'll be my way of gauging how receptive they are to the price of the property that we're putting over. And over time it will allow me to adjust that figure to see where they're sort of comfortable at. Obviously, when I put over anything, it would include our margin in it. So whatever we're paying the landlord plus our margin is the rent that I would then put to the provider. And if there's big pushback, then we can say, okay, well, what exactly is it that, how close can you get to this figure? They obviously need to appreciate that we're a business, we need to make money as well, we're operating in the middle, so there needs to be something in it for us. So how close could you get to this figure? And then we need to find out whether it's feasible or not. That's the way I like to go about testing rent currently. But the reason why I do this is because I know the type of providers that can pay more. And so I know that there is a margin there to be made. If you're first getting into this and you're not sure what type of provider you're speaking to and the types of providers that can pay more, well, that's something for a different video, and I'll cover that shortly. But moving on, how to find them then. So you've got some of the providers' criteria here. You also want to go into a bit of detail about who it is that they support, how much support they do provide. Some will have a set sort of program that they run for people through. So if they're like, they support homelessness, for example, then they may have like a set program that they run each service user through. Other times, if it's like adult supported care or younger people, they may have more dedicated hours and services catered for them, a specific type of care package, right? So there's those things to find out a little bit about, because you're going to need to know all these details when you're speaking to landlords about who's you're going to be housing in their property, right? How to find them. So Google's a great place to find them, right? So keywords, so supported living providers in your area. That's a great way. Google, you can find a ton of providers on Google. You can also use the same sort of keywords but throw it into ChatGPT with your area as well, and that should spit out a number of providers as well. The CQC, so Care Quality Commission, they have a website, and you can go onto their website and there's actually a filter on there. You can put in the location, you can put in the type of support, so it's supported living, and then you'll get a list of providers on there. So you want to really be working with providers that have a rating of good or outstanding. Those are the ones to really work with. If they've had a bad report, like poor or something like that, then obviously these are the guys that you don't really want to be working with. You can also go to the council or the local authority and ask to speak to somebody in their housing department. So you can go through to those guys, and then also you can ask them like who's on their current framework for housing. So whether that's adults, that's the adult commissioning team, or whether that's the young person commissioning team, you can ask to speak to them or ask for a list of the providers that are on their framework. Now they might not give you this, but it's definitely worth asking. LinkedIn's great. So all the companies that you come across on Google and the CQC register, you can have a look at the company name, obviously go on and have a look at their website, and then you can you can search on LinkedIn the company name and try and find the directors and reach out directly, because these are the guys that you want to be speaking to, the key decision makers, not staff, just general sort of staff or gatekeepers. And then contract finders, that's you can Google that, and it's on the government website, and basically this allows you to search. You could type in something like temporary accommodation or supported living, and this will bring up huge pages, and you'll be able to see who's won recent tenders. Now the areas are a bit of a mixture. There is a way to filter, but it gets quite complicated with the search filter on there. It's not brilliant, but it is still a good way of finding out who's won recent tenders. You just have to do a bit of digging through it. And then we want to qualify them, right? So essentially what we're trying to understand is whether this is a good provider to work with, right? And how also that we're going to work with them. So B2B, so that's obviously rent to rent, so that's back-to-back leasing, right? So we want to understand, are they okay with leasing directly from us? If they're not, then are they happy to pay a sourcing fee for the right property? These are the things that we need to understand, because then we know how we can work with these guys, right? That will save us a lot of time going forward. If we can't do either of these, then there is still a way that we can work for them and with them, but we're just looking to get our fees and any sort of commissions from the landlord side. Then we'll be positioning ourselves for either management with the landlord or doing some sort of tenant fine fee. The timescales, this is a key one to understand, right? Is you want to know the timescales from when you send them a good property that they would be interested in to them actually being able to sign a lease, and the process that looks, and that goes into the process in A to Z. So really you want to understand, okay, so how we operate is we will go out, we'll look at a property, we'll view it, we'll do a walkthrough video, we will then send it to you via WhatsApp or via email. After that point, we want to understand how long is it going to take for you to gauge interest, get back to us, let us know that you want to come out and view it. How quickly could you view? If we sent you something on a Monday, could you come and view it on the Wednesday, sort of thing? If they can, and then they want to proceed with it, who do they need to bring on the viewing? Do they need the local commissioner to come out? Do they need some other directors to come out and approve it? Or can whoever's going to come out to the viewing, will they be able to give final approval then and there? If they can, then great. Also, then we want to know, are you in a position to offer a formal offer shortly after a viewing? Okay, and then what does that look like? So we want to know the A to Z basically. So we know how quickly this provider can move, because obviously the rental market, guys, moves very quickly. Landlords aren't, wanting to sit around on their hands and sit with an empty property essentially. So things do move quickly, and that's why you need to be on the ball, and that's why you need to know how responsive these guys are going to be and how fast they can move forward. So when you're reaching out to providers, you just need to send a simple email, something like, hi, my name's Daniel, I'm reaching out from DK Hart Properties, just trying to understand if you're looking to currently expand and have a requirement for new properties. We work with a lot of landlords in the area, alongside a lot of estate agencies, and have access to lots of different types of properties that come our way. We're just wondering whether it would be worth sitting down, having a brief Zoom call to see whether we could collaborate with each other. And something along those lines, right? That's just off the top of the head. So you're basically just trying to see if a business relationship would make sense, and whether it's worth just spending, 10-15 minutes on a Zoom call to discover whether there is a business opportunity here, if they are actually looking to grow. So a big part of the call as well is also going to be trying to build that relationship with your providers, right? So this is a long-term working relationship. If they are willing to work with you and get properties sent to you, you need to foster that relationship over time. So be in touch and base with them when you're actually looking for properties for them, and really establishing a solid rapport with them, okay? And trying to get to grips with where they are heading as a business and how you can help them get to where they need to go. That's the way you position yourself, okay? This is a business to business service. You're helping them expand their property base and increase their services that they run, and that's a huge thing for businesses, care businesses like this, right? So you are really doing them a great service if you can do it well professionally, okay? And yeah, so that's pretty much everything that you need to know, a high level overview of how to find providers, right? And the things that you're actually looking for when you're speaking to them, having these conversations, and understanding the process of working with that provider, because all of this detail you're going to need to communicate to the landlord, when you're explaining what it is that you do, and your client that's actually currently looking for their property, and how this property could suit them, how the setup of the property would be. So you need to understand who would be going in there, the type of care and support that they would be getting in the property, because you're trying to ease the landlord's nerves, if any, about the fact that their property is going to be looked after, right? The people that are in there, they're not going to trash the place, they're getting care, they're being supported day to day. So you need to kind of know everything about the care or the provider that you're going to be putting in there, so that you can relay these details back to the landlord. So hopefully you find that useful. You're a bit more knowledgeable now on why it is that we find the providers first, and also how to find the providers and the conversations that you should be having with them. If you want to find out more details, then you can, in the comment section and in the description, there is a link to a full course. It's completely free, and I go through how to source providers, how to source properties, and how you can charge sourcing fees and also tenant fine fees. So if you want to dig into some more content, that's in there. Please like and subscribe. I'll be doing a lot more videos like this shortly.